A Guide to the Far-Right Mindset was created on Stormfront, the notorious white nationalist site, in 2001. A contributor named Yggdrasil, there is that Norse mythology again, began a thread on content that we can watch repeatedly, laying out guidelines and making and soliciting suggestions. The thread now runs to 154 pages. Yggdrasil's criteria for what qualifies as a good white nationalist film include positive portrayal of whites in defense against the depredation of liberalism, crime, and attack by alien races. Positive
They
portrayal
hadn't
of
invented liberalism during the time that's predicted. Like there's hundreds of years before anyone
there's
came
no
up with the
libs.
idea of that. Like, oh yeah, I hate it. I hate it when I hate it when I'm like raping an entire village and like pussy hat people protest me.
Positive portrayal of heterosexual relationships and sex, marriage, procreation, and child rearing. Portrayal of white males as intelligent, sensitive, and strong in positive leadership roles and/or romantic leads, and particularly intense portrayals of white female beauty in non-degrading roles. Disqualifying themes include homosexuality, racial mixing, negative portrayals of Christianity, and portrayals of white people as inferior. The Northman pretty much ticks all these boxes, but then so do many other movies. Indeed, if you're looking for a Hollywood movie to support white supremacist beliefs, you don't have to look far. So there we go. Movies are fascist.
Does he give examples
they are.
of like other movies?
Chill out. They all are then.
Yeah.
Even Pixar.
Some of
being made by massive collections of fucking capital. What message do you think they're really sending here? It has nothing to do with anything that you're absorbing consciously.
Well, here are some examples of some Stormfront film recommendations are predictable. The Birth of a Nation, Triumph of the Will, Braveheart, Zulu, a lot of Jane Austen, Shakespeare, and Clint Eastwood. Few will be surprised to see the Lord of the Rings movies come highly recommended. Neither J.R.R. Tolkien nor Peter Jackson consciously framed the fantasy epic as white nationalist propaganda, but as with Nordic mythology, it harks back to an imaginary Eurocentric realm in which the heroes are considered to be white-skinned and were cast as such in the movies, and their chief enemies, the orcs, are characterized as dark-skinned, ugly, and uncivilized. I mean, I'm ready. I've been waiting for someone to cancel the Lord of the Rings because I'm
those
tired
fucking movies
tired
are
of those
boring as
fucking
shit.
movies. Yeah, fuck. But like, I mean, this gets into another like aspect of the critique of this movie is that like, okay, yeah, his depiction of 10th century Iceland does not include any people of color, and a lot of people like are sort of medievalists or people who like claim to have some sort of expertise in this time period pointed out that Vikings their reach extended well into the Mediterranean and they had contact with like North African and Middle Eastern cultures, but like that contact was largely them fucking raping and pillaging people and setting up homesteads for their own people to like literally colonize. So like, yeah, Vikings were familiar with other races of people, but it's just like, it doesn't, there's this like weird attempt to like, okay, like white supremacist people, they like Vikings because they represent like, white male masculinity and sort of like unblemished by, cosmopolitan or sort of diverse values or whatever. So like the way to own them is to say, aha, but like what if you knew that the Vikings were actually queer and POC? And it's just like, I don't think that does you the favor or your side the favor you think it does, because like if you're saying that like the people who were marauding the coasts of Europe for centuries, like raping and enslaving everyone they came across, were in fact non-white POC. It's like, what are you going with there? What's the angle here?
No, the angle is that you've ruined the movie for the people you don't like.
Okay,
they can't enjoy it now. Like you licked the bagel, and now they can't pick it up off of the tray. Like that, boom. Now the people I don't like. Here's a film that they cannot enjoy. I win.
I mean, I don't think the licking the bagel strategy is going to work for this one.
I mean, eventually there's going to be. I mean, I don't know. This movie kind of bombed, so who knows what they're going to take from that? Maybe it's like no more history movies of any kind, or maybe we do need to make them more diverse. I don't know. I do think it is funny how much it shows the absolute limitations of people's imaginations and how much those limitations are constructed by like the realities of capitalist production, that instead of fantasizing about movies about historical Africa, for example, people can only fantasize about diversifying like historical Europe. Like
Right.
like they want to hit the same stories that have been told before, but now I want it to be diverse. Like the assumption the you have accepted that these are the only stories we can tell are these Eurocentric historical narratives. And then the greatest feat of representation you can imagine is to ahistorically bust them open with diversity instead of like move the camera to somewhere else that's been underserved traditionally. But where's the market? There's no proven market for that. This is not proven IP. It's not going to get made.
Well, yeah, it seems like there's no proven market for movies about the past of anyone's past right now. But Matt, this touches on another thing that you and I have talked about, which is like for the marquee, like top line, like art, like legacy directors. It does seem like most of them are not don't want to have anything to do with making a movie about the present.
Yeah.
Is that they all want to like all move like they like all good movies for the most part now are set in the past. And then like it could be like a distant past of like the 10th century or just like I don't know the late 70s or something. But it seems like
Pre
you know
smartphones. Well, that's I think the important thing is because like the phones having a phone on you has like changed fundamentally the way that we interact in a way that like we might all say is for the better on balance. I mean, in the sense that it helps us like compensate for, you know, the loneliness caused in part by that change, sure, but it makes the idea of like depicting
yeah.
the contemporary reality dramatically incredibly difficult.
Because like if you're like previously if you were going to dramatize a phone call between two people, like that's easy enough to do. But like now I think like with filmmakers or like TV shows or movies set about the present, they have to incorporate texting into that reality. And a lot of times they will put the text on the screen of the movie, which I really don't like. But like I mean, what else are you going to do? How are you going to communicate like two people communicating wordlessly with one another looking at these little boxes in their hands?
Yeah, it's death. It's death. Like we have made ourselves unfilmable, even though that's all we do all day is film each other. Boom.
Here's a surprising recommendation from the Stormfront movie list. It's Notting Hill.
The readers of Horse and Hound will be absolutely delighted.
The Julia Roberts, Hugh Grant movie. It says few would have marked the Richard Curtis rom-com as a key white nationalist text, even if it was criticized at the time for excluding people of color from its multiracial, multicultural London neighborhood. But from the perspective of a white nationalist blogger, Notting Hill is a story in which the white victims of cultural destruction manage to extricate themselves and find happiness.
Okay, so yeah, they've definitely given up any because yeah, as I said, the only even surface plausible pitch that you're to make condemning these because I mean obviously this is the dumbest part of all of it. It's like okay, even if these movies are literally white nationalist recruitment things, what does it have to do with you? What are you going to make the strong case to ban them? No, then you're just fucking whining. But anyway, like the only case you could make that's even like surface plausible for why you should care is if these things are used as recruitment. And now I'm imagining some Derek Vineyard motherfucker getting like an impressionable teen kid who just like got beaten up by black kids in gym and taking them to their home and showing him Notting Hill.
and then it's 4 weddings and a funeral after that. But the funeral is white civilization if we don't stand up against the Great Replacement.
I heard that before Charlottesville, they watched Moonrise Kingdom to pump themselves up.
Well, Wes Anderson is the other director that I saw people this week calling fascist.
He's fash.
He's fash. It's just there's no way around it. There's no way
He's
around
an
it.
aesthete. He's like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to have my little place, and I want to make my little dolls do stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's not liberal politics. That's not social democracy. But it is a piece of art, and it is aesthetic. And movies, I'm sorry, they should be able to justify themselves on the question of their artistic merit. That I think is independent of their political valence. And that used to be, I mean, I don't want to sound like a cranky old man, but that used to be understood. Like Bob Dole was the guy who tried to make movies a culture war touchstone in '96 when he had nothing to run on because Clinton had done the entire Republican playbook in his first term. So he said movies are too violent these days.
Pulp Fiction and Train Spotting.
Yeah. And people said, movies don't make you do things. What are you talking about? And now it's completely flipped because of how much uh, the political horizon has shrunk, and how much, while the political horizon has shrunk, the imagined horizon of catastrophe has grown in its horrors and its detail that you can imagine. So now people are looking for anything to throw at this future that's coming hurtling towards them. And like, what if we all watch the right movies? Becomes just this last gasp fantasy of transformation that doesn't require really engaging in a political project that nobody believes in anymore.